I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Blunting Trump's momentum. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Hillary Clinton gave a stem winder of a speech today in Washington, trying to put Donald Trump on the defensive. Mrs. Clinton must be stunned by the turnaround in the polls, especially in states like Florida and Ohio, which she needs to win. Therefore, the Clinton campaign had to make a statement and chose the personal route. The main theme of her talk today was that Trump is personally unfit to be president.
Donald Trump looks at President Obama after 8 years as our president. He still doesn't see him as an American. Think of how dangerous that is. Imagine a person in the Oval Office who traffics in conspiracy theories and refuses to let them go, no matter what the facts are. Imagine someone who distorts the truth to fit a very narrow view of the world. Imagine a president who sees someone who doesn't look like him and doesn't agree with him and thinks that person must not be a real American. In addition to the president, Donald Trump looks at a distinguished federal judge born in Indiana, and he sees a Mexican, not an American. He looks at a Gold Star family and sees them as Muslims, not patriotic Americans. He looks at women and decides how our looks rate on a scale of 1 to 10.
Now, it is clear that Secretary Clinton is playing the invective card. There was little policy in her speech today. It was all about re-demonizing Donald Trump as an unstable guy who is hostile to a variety of Americans. Now, will that tactic work? Probably not, because those who believe, as Mrs. Clinton does, are already in her camp. They're already there. By this time, the 10% or so of Americans who are still persuadable in the election have heard all the anti-Trump stuff before. The big reason Hillary Clinton went after Trump in a personal way is to refocus negative attention on him, media attention, thereby taking it off her. Today in the LA Times Daily Tracking Poll, which bounces around a lot, Trump's now up by 6 after 2 weeks of press scrutiny on Hillary Clinton. The more extensive national polling from Fox News and others has Trump either beating or very close to Hillary Clinton among likely voters. That shocked the Democratic Party because Mr. Trump is an unusual candidate, to say the least, and has major baggage, as any big-time businessman would. But Secretary Clinton's resume problems are more extensive than Donald Trump's because of the FBI investigation and others. That is holding Secretary Clinton back. For his part, Trump seems to be listening to his new team, which has imposed discipline on the campaign. Today in Washington, some generals endorsed Trump, concentrating on national security and the military. In that exposition, Trump spoke for less than 30 seconds, dealing with the birther issue.
President Barack Obama was born in the United States, period. Now we all want to get back to making America strong and great again. Thank you.
Ironically, just before Trump said that, just before, President Obama actually helped him out, unwittingly.
We got other business to attend to. I was pretty confident about where I was born. I think most people were as well. And my hope would be that the presidential election reflects more serious issues than that.
So Trump caught a break today with Mr. Obama assisting in getting the birther issue off the table. Going forward, there are 10 days until the first debate. And both candidates will be doing serious prep work for their presentations on Monday, September 26 at Hofstra University on Long Island. The whole world will be watching this debate, and there's no coming back if you screw up. Big time pressure. So it would behoove, word of the day, behoove, both of the candidates to avoid controversy before the debate. Personal attacks at this point will most likely hurt the attacker. It was almost pathetic today, to watch the ravings on cable news by anti-Trump zealots. Did you guys just find out about the birther issue? If Trump's conceding the point, why the vitriol? Again, hatred never plays well with the folks. What fair-minded Americans really want are solutions to vexing problems. They want specifics. They want clarity. They want consistency. Whoever delivers that best from here on will win the White House. And that's a memo. Next on the Rundown, reaction from Bowling Rivera and Brit Hume. The later Factor exclusive. We will talk with a defector from Al-Qaeda who has now come back to the American side. Fascinating situation upcoming. Continuing now with our lead story, Hillary Clinton personally attacking Donald Trump, trying to blunt his momentum. Here now in New York City, Eric Bowling and Geraldo Rivera. So where am I going wrong in the talking points, Geraldo?
Well, I think that you are not emphasizing strongly enough what a gift Donald Trump gave to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton had not just 2 bad weeks, she had 2 horrifying weeks. On Sunday, on 9/11, she collapsed on video. People looked at her as frail and elderly. Everybody was talking about, is she fit, physically fit to be president of the United States? Now, what are they going to be talking about? Not about her fitness, not about any of the other scandals that continue to plague her. They're going to be talking about Donald Trump and birtherism.
That's going to die out, though, now that he won't address it anymore. Don't you think so, Bowling?
He's gone. He was smart. He took 20, 25 seconds. He got rid of it, dismissed it, moved on. She's on the ropes. She's on the ropes for her.
But let's stay there for a minute. What Rivera is referring to is that he had a chance with the Washington Post. I started this, as you both know. Okay, but I didn't start it in a confrontational way. I started in an informational way. I asked Donald Trump last week if he thought the birther thing hurt him among African Americans. That was the question. But when the Washington Post, as they of course want to do, tried to trap Trump into saying, "Are you still a birther?" he should have just said no. But he didn't. He didn't say anything, and that's when the whole thing rose up.
Well, okay, fair enough. But look what has happened since then. He's got a 36-hour news cycle all about him. He dismissed it appropriately in 25 seconds. It's done. It's gone.
It's not all about him, though. Hillary Clinton. Rivera's right in the sense that he gave Hillary Clinton the platform to go after him, and she'll get a lot of ink on that. But the question then becomes for you guys to make a judgment on, is that going to help Hillary Clinton? I don't think it is.
I think it will. I mean, my goodness, he has someone who is so intemperate. And I love Donald Trump. He is so intemperate that even though he was, and I don't remember if you were at the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner. I was there when President Obama eviscerated Donald Trump, humiliated him in front of that crowd with birther jokes like Donald Trump's next project is to see whether or not the moon landing was faked. Here's the video of my birth, Obama's birth. He shows the clip from Lion King. He ridiculed Trump. I think Trump ran for president just to get back at Obama for ridiculing him. And now,
but Trump's given it up now.
As late as September 2014, Trump was still tweeting about there's questions about this, serious questions about. I got all kinds of emails today. Just today from Fox fans saying I should investigate whether or not he's born in Kenya because questions persist. I think Trump could have dismissed this long ago.
Well, that's true.
He's so nimble on feet usually.
Let's go ahead, though. My contention is that the birther issue is done because Trump won't engage in it, and he's on the record. So it's over now. I believe that on Monday that you won't even hear it again.
Well, I agree with you 100% because but she'll try and make it big.
But then it becomes.
But look at her tactics. She's on Twitter now, trying to needle him on Twitter, see if she can engage him. He's smart. He's pushing back on that.
Well, it's Kellyanne Conway who's doing that.
I'm not sure. I mean, I know Kellyanne. I spoke to her yesterday. He's still Donald Trump. Clearly listening to people for the first time.
Did you see the Congressional Black Caucus?
I did.
That was hysterical. They're hysterical.
What else are they going to do?
Yeah, but I mean, why did he go to those cities, Detroit and so forth? Why Flint? Why did he go? Didn't he go
to win over
at least to get some?
But those are the folks, not the zealots. The Congressional Black Caucus would never. They would vote for Putin over Trump. They would support ISIS over Trump.
That may be true, but this cements this whole image of racialism.
It cements it in the media's mind. I don't know if he's making any inroads, by the way, but I'm glad he's trying. Go ahead.
He's got 2 new slogans out right now, and they are killing it.
Slogans?
No, this is two lines.
Tell me the slogans.
It used to be you couldn't drink the water in Mexico, and cars were made in Michigan. Now cars are made in Mexico, and you can't drink the water in Michigan. That's resonating. And the other one today he unveiled was, I produce paychecks, she produces welfare checks. He's on it. He's on message. Right. He's not getting blinds or off the track with his birther crap. He's done with it.
Okay, now here, let's advance the story. Do you, Rivera, believe that Hillary Clinton will try to bait Trump at the debates? Will she kind of throw this stuff at him, trying to get him?
If by baiting you mean ridicule him, I think that's how you'll get under his skin. I think that she will. This
Really?
man,
Right.
until
This
a
man.
year and a half ago,
Right.
believed that the President of the United States
You
was
think she's
born
gonna
in
do all
Africa.
that?
He said he was sending his investigators to Hawaii. They were onto something. And then look what he delegitimized
But
the first
that's
African-American president of the United States.
But remember, the downside is that means that she doesn't deal with policy.
College-educated women.
Do you think she's going to do what ridicule Trump?
She will try, and if
think
he's
so?
smart, what he'll do is he'll turn to her and say something nice, something complimentary about her, and move on. And
What a babe.
she will have nowhere
you're
to
a
go.
ten.
I'm gonna
Well,
give
not bad, but
this is the
maybe
line.
like
If I
that
were
pants.
writing for
That's a
Trump,
nice
this is a
pantsuit.
complimentary line. It's nice to see you here tonight, and not in prison, Madam Secretary. That's kind of nice to see you, right? Is that a bad line?
Striped
That's pretty
jumpsuit,
good.
is that what you're saying?
All right. I got lines against Trump, too, so it's bipartisan. All right, you guys, go home. Directly ahead, Brit Hume on whether Donald Trump's momentum will continue. And later, Bill Clinton may be sacking San Francisco 49er quarterback Colin Kaepernick for big yardage. We'll hear this. Those reports after these messages. In the back segment tonight, Trump momentum, as we mentioned in the Talking Points memo, all of the polling has him gaining after Hillary Clinton's deplorables comment and her health scare. Joins us from Washington, Brit Hume, the new anchor of On the Record. So first of all, are you surprised by the momentum swing, Brit?
Yeah, a little bit surprised, Bill, but, let's keep a couple of things in mind. Not just the misfortunes that have been suffered by Mrs. Clinton and the fact that she, blurted out that deplorables comment, which I don't think helped her very much. But Donald Trump has also avoided problems. He's stuck to his scripts. He's laying out specifics. He's behaving with some dignity and grace that a lot of his critics would say he didn't have in him. So she's been doing a little worse, and maybe even a lot worse, and he's been doing better.
All right, but then he comes...
The momentum is real.
Right, but then comes the birther thing, where he had an easy dismissal of the Washington Post, and then he had to, hold a special thing, and allowed her, as Rivera pointed out, some pretty good shots.
Well, perhaps, but as I understand what happened is he was planning to do this today on the birther controversy and try to put it to rest. And when he was asked by a Washington Post reporter who got a little interview with him what he'd care to say, whether he'd care to do it then ahead of this event today, he said no, and that led to a headline that said he refuses to disavow the birther idea, and that was unreasonable.
That's why Trump should stay away from the print press for the next 10 days. I didn't know that, by the way, so thank you for saying that. I thought he said outright to the Washington Post, I don't know, or something like that. But
well,
just so the audience
wasn't prepared to do it, yeah.
Just so the audience understands, Trump, according to Brit Hume, and that's a pretty reliable source, said to the Washington Post reporter, I'm not ready to say that now because I want to say it in a singular press.
Well, he didn't go. I don't think he went quite that far. But basically, it's just that he wasn't prepared to do it at the time, which was yesterday. He was planning to do it today and did.
Okay. Hillary Clinton, I don't believe gains a lot of currency anymore. I think she did at the Democratic convention, but not anymore with the personal attacks, with the demonization. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, you kind of think here, Bill, that she may have shot all the fish in that barrel, if you know what I mean, in the sense that, there are a lot of people out in the country who regard Donald Trump, some of them are Republicans, as completely, totally, and forever unacceptable. Well, she's got them, or at least she's got them at least not voting for him. But I don't think they're going to decide this race. I think what this race will be decided by is this question, and that is whether people's desire for change and dissatisfaction with the status quo is such that they're not going to vote for a status quo, stay-the-course candidate this time. They're eager to vote for somebody who's going to give them change. And they may even be willing to vote for somebody who will give them change, who they have misgivings about, and who they think is risky. But people may be ready to take a risk, and Trump needs to dissatisfy those people, make people feel more comfortable with him, and that he could be an acceptable president.
Yeah, if you're going to vote for Donald Trump, you're taking a bit of a risk. But as you said, if you're voting for Hillary Clinton, it's more of the same. Now, both Bolling and Rivera said they think that Hillary Clinton is going to bait and going to go after Trump and try to rattle him with the you don't like women business or you don't like blacks or whoever you don't like. You think she's going to do that?
I don't think she'll have to. I suspect that the questions from the panelists in the early debate will be designed to try to catch Trump out in his limited knowledge of government, and they try to expose to people what they think is his lack of qualifications, and he will have to somehow deal with that. And I suspect that she also will try to provoke him in some way to get him to blurt out some intemperate comment that could be used against him.
That'll be interesting to see whether she does that or not.
I think we'll see it.
All right, so now you all know that Hume is back full-time doing On the Record. And, you know, when I heard that announcement, this scene came into my mind.
Uh-oh.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
So, Hume, you know, I envied you. Boca Grande in the winter in Florida, you had the little hat on, you're playing a little golf in your shirt. In the summer, you're up in Maine, you're eating lobster. And now it's every day like me.
Bill, I was sitting in a diner in Vernon, Connecticut with my wife, part of our way back on our road trip back from Maine. And I got a phone call from my lawyer agent, the great Bob Barnett, who told me that something totally extraordinary might be happening, and they might need me to return to work for full-time for a while. And I said, I don't know. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, if there's a big hole in the lineup at 7 o'clock and they need temporary help, this company's been good to me. I'm going to do it.
All right. Well, we're glad you're leading into us now. Don't screw it up.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, please?
I'll try not to.
Personal story segment time. Former al-Qaeda recruiter and propagandist, now back in the American fold. His name is Jesse Morton. While he worked for al-Qaeda, they called him Yunus Abdullah Muhammad. Born in Pennsylvania, 2010, he fled to Morocco, where he was arrested and held in a prison there. He's taken back to the USA 2011, pleading guilty to various terror charges. Now, in a stunning turn of events, Mr. Morton is working at the George Washington University Center for Cyber and Homeland Security. He joins us now from Washington. First of all, why did you join al-Qaeda?
Well, the process of my radicalization and my entrance into adherence to and affinity for al-Qaeda's ideology started at a very young age. I had a very traumatic upbringing, and I think that what that did was it made me open up to alternative ideologies. Thereafter, I identified with Islam after reading the autobiography of Malcolm X and could relate with a lot of his story. So I was open to radical interpretations from the very beginning. Criminal behavior was also an underpinning element of my youth, and during that time I went to jail and was radicalized by a preacher in jail shortly before 9/11. So by the time 9/11 happened, I had sort of a natural inclination to adopt the worldview of the jihadist. It gave me an opportunity to express my rage and frustration through a countercultural movement, albeit a violent one. That process continued to unfold, and I continued to get deeper and deeper into the ideology of al-Qaeda, and eventually graduated from role to role, first as a student, then as an adherent, and then as a propagandist.
All right, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. So you're in the USA. You didn't go to Pakistan or any of those places. You're here in the United States, and you're working with al-Qaeda here. Is that correct?
Well, that is correct. At the time, al-Qaeda was changing its strategy. They were becoming less a top-down hierarchical organization and more decentralized with regard to inspiring others to take up the cause. And they were stressing that individuals everywhere needed to concentrate on propagating the ideology, that was one of the ways that they were going to sustain their movement.
And where were you doing this physically in the USA? Where were you?
I was in New York City. I started working on behalf of the Salafi jihadist ideology and propagating it in about 2004. I was first with a movement in New York called the Islamic Thinkers Society. Then I started my own entity, Revolution Muslim, in late 2007, and ran that up until the point of my incarceration in May of 2011.
Were you worried about the FBI and you know, people coming after you? Was that something that you were worried about here?
Well, it was quite obvious that we were certainly under investigation, but we carefully attempted to toe the line between free and illegal speech. And so we believed that we were within the legal realm of the law. And so, of course, we knew we were being monitored, but I think that when you're so drunk on an ideology and committed to a cause, the risk associated with activism becomes something that you actually enjoy, believe it or not.
The cat and mouse game. So then they got you. All right, you went to Morocco, they pick you up there, they bring you back. What did you serve? How much time?
Well, originally I was sentenced to 11.5 years. I was picked up in May of 2011, shortly after Osama bin Laden was killed. But I was afforded the opportunity to cooperate with law enforcement. I had many different variables that contributed to de-radicalization. And ultimately, the judge on the case, with the recommendations of the prosecutor, released me after 3 years and 9 months.
You cooperated with the federal government against the other Muslim radicals, right?
Well, after I determined that the ideology I held was completely false, there were still factions of the network that were continuing to reach out to me. On top of that, I had analytical analysis that was able to make a contribution in how we assess risk. I also
so you helped against the jihad. You helped in a variety
in many
of ways.
Different capacities, yes.
So they cut you some slack. And now what are you doing at George Washington University?
Well, upon my release, a lot of statements were coming from politicians like the President, from the House and Homeland Security Committee, from different factions of the policy community and the counterterrorism community generally about the value of former extremists. And so I decided to attempt to find an avenue by which I could operate as a former in the U.S. ambit. Program on Extremism is doing some of the best work in the field of countering violent extremism and educating the public and policymakers about that. And I found it an ideal home. After a long process, I was hired, and I've been given an enormous opportunity.
So now you're with the good guys.
Absolutely. I mean, my worldview has totally changed. Now I think rationally. This
story is amazing, Mr. Morton, on two levels. Number one, redemption, which we believe in here very much. And number two, now you're a patriot, I hope. I mean, I hope you're helping protect Americans, because we need all the protection we can get. Last word.
I think at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, I was able to realize the value of the American system. I realize now today that it's not just about who they are, it's about who we are, and that we have a system of life that is in many ways provable. And one can look at it from a factual status and see that the American system, democracy, liberalism, and freedom is a way that liberates everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Fascinating story. Good luck to you. Thank you very much. We come right back. A Factor investigation. Is the Obama administration hiding the real story about illegal immigration on the border? That report moments away. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Factor investigation segment tonight. Reporting by Fox News correspondent William LaJeunesse out of Los Angeles says that the Department of Homeland Security is not telling Americans the real story about illegal immigration on the Mexican border. It's a huge issue in this presidential campaign.
We're going to end family detention, close private detention facilities, and stop the raids and roundups. No child should have to say goodbye to their parents every morning, not knowing if their mom or dad will be there when they get home.
Secretary Clinton putting forth a very sympathetic view on illegal immigration. Joining us now from L.A., the aforementioned William LaJeunesse. So what's the headline of your story, William?
Two headlines. Number one, for years we've generally been told that the administration either catches or deters about 80% of the illegal immigrants on the southwest border. The report that I'm aware of, that we paid for, shows it's really more like 50-50, 51%. Secondly, you paid for it, it's completed in May, and it is still not being released, even though people who are involved with authoring that report want it out.
All right. Have you seen the report yourself, William?
I have been extensively briefed on it, and I have seen portions of material from the report that allowed us to make these conclusions.
Right, so you're 100% sure that
number.
And who did the report? Who did it?
The report was done by an outside federal, quasi-federal agency that was hired by Homeland Security to do it. 8 researchers spent 1 year, made 3 trips to the border. These are the best and the brightest, all PhDs. They came out with the report, peer-reviewed. The numbers, the methodology is good. It says the number isn't 81%, it's 51%, and that's a number they're trying to get out.
So what does the Homeland Security Chief, Jeb Johnson, say about this, number one, and why is he holding it back, number two?
Well, ironically, Jay Johnson is one who ordered the report. Congress had been asking for this number for years, dating back to Jenna Napolitano. He had the courage to commission the report, wanted to get it out. And when he tried to get it out, he was told he had to go to the White House Domestic Policy Council, headed up by Cecilia Munoz.
Who told him that?
Well, the people who at DHS told the consultants who were hired to do the report, you have to go to the White House before we can let this out. It has to be coordinated, if you, with the Domestic Policy Council,
Johnson
which coordinates the president's message.
With keeping this thing down. He didn't put it out on his own. He said, you got to run it by the White House. Of course, the White House doesn't want it out there. That's the bottom line?
That is the bottom line. They had a meeting, 13 people. They yelled at each other. They said, we want out. No way. They said, political reasons, you're not going out.
All right. It'll get out now that you reported it. And by the way, that is an exclusive by William Lajeunesse. Good job. And we appreciate you coming on tonight. The other security story this evening, hacking into private emails. This week, General Colin Powell, former Secretary of State, was embarrassed when his personal emails surfaced publicly, disparaging both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Joining us now from Washington, Morgan Wright, a cybersecurity analyst. So, who do you think hacked into Powell's emails?
All indications point to the Russians. They've had an ongoing campaign against the DNC, the CIA director. Gustafer 2.0 probably has some affiliation. The Russians are very good at doing this, and the Tradecraft and the Toolkit bill pretty clearly points that it's got to be coming from somewhere in there. When
somebody gets hacked like General Powell, the FBI, is that the investigating agency that gets called and goes in and tries to track who's doing it?
Yeah, usually they do that. They usually have primary responsibility for things like that. Sometimes the Secret Service or DHS will get involved, but on something like this, you'll most likely see
it's
FBI
an
take the
FBI
lead.
investigation. And there's a pattern of behavior that the Bureau has seen.
Yes.
Each hacker, Chinese hackers have a pattern, Russian hack. And you're saying that you know for a fact that the Powell hack was a profile of a Russian operation.
Well, it's hard to put facts in cyberspace. If Russia launches a missile, we can pretty well trace that. That's direct attribution. But like we saw with North Korea, Bill, it took a while to get the facts down. But let's put it this way. There's more things to indicate that it's Russia than it is anybody else, geopolitically, technically, tradecraft, tools. So
could it be just individuals, these WikiLeaks people, and could it be individuals that are doing this? Some guy in their basement? Is that possible?
I don't think so, Bill, and I'll tell you why. There's a level of sophistication here, a level of rolling things out, a level of understanding political implications to doing this, and the sustained effort, Bill, it took over time to collect these emails. I mean, these things went on for a couple years. They have over 2 to 3 years of emails of General Powell and other people.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a sustained,
so now
initiative.
Powell gets severely embarrassed, and now everybody in a power position that uses the machines, as I call them, has to worry about being hacked. Is there any way that folks can protect themselves?
Yeah, Bill, if people will just do 3 basic things. Number 1, encrypt every piece of data you have at rest or in motion. Number 2, use a better password, use a stronger password, and there's some things out there built a course around to do that. Third thing is it's called multi-factor authentication. It's like a username and a password, then either a security key or a token that recycles every 30 seconds. If you would just do those 3 basic things, you would be better than 98% of the people computing in the United States right now. Those 3 things.
Okay. Texting, that's not the same as email. Can you hack into texting?
Yes, you can. You look at there's a protocol called SS7. Doesn't mean it's a geeky thing, but that thing was hacked. That's the thing that basically runs all the cell phones around the world. So if you can get to an email, you can get to a cell phone, you can get to a text, and with Apple and iCloud and storing things like that, there's a lot of things you can get to people don't realize.
You see, there's no privacy in the world anymore. There really isn't any privacy anymore. This encryption, I guess,
unless
is
you're
the best
somewhere
thing.
in Alaska. Yeah, go to Alaska somewhere away from all the cell towers. You might come close.
All right. Mr. Wright, we appreciate it. Thanks very much. Back in the book segment tonight, the legendary pop group The Beach Boys. Over the years, they have had more top 40 hits than any other American group in history. Beach Boys still tour, and the lead singer, Mike Love, has written a new book called Good Vibrations that chronicles what happened to the band. Some of it is surprising. So first of all, as you know, I'm a big Beach Boys fan. Have been since I was like 6 years old. That's how much older you are than me. And when I read your book, though, there were a lot of things that I didn't know about the band that you write about. And the first one I want to get into is, it seems that every single American rock band was destroyed by drugs. And the Beach Boys, no exception. Brian Wilson got heavily into drugs, and so did all the other members of the band. And some of it was heroin, big-time drugs. Why does that happen?
Back in the 60s, marijuana was no big thing. But then along comes LSD, and that really messed some people's brains up.
Did you ever take LSD?
No, absolutely not.
But your cousin Brian Wilson did.
And Dennis and Carl.
Did that change them?
My cousin Brian said once he took LSD, he's heard voices saying derogatory things to him since that time he took LSD. So in that specific situation, it didn't do Brian any favors.
So you started off as clean-cut kids from Hawthorne, California, making a great new sound. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, you're drug involved. Now, the other thing was that you, along the line, got to meet all the big rock icons. And you tell a story about meeting the Beatles in the book.
Yeah.
Did you get along with those guys?
Beautifully.
Yeah.
Harrison and I both had our birthdays in 1968 when George passed away. I was feeling very melancholy about it because he's such a great person. Paul McCartney came to the breakfast table one morning playing, listen to this, Mike, flew in from Miami Beach, BOAC.
Back in the USSR.
Back in the USSR.
Why do you think they were so successful? Did you ever think about that?
They were brilliant at marketing and promotion. Sgt. Pepper's album cover, right, was brilliant. That was Paul McCartney. Our album cover, Pet Sounds, was photographed at the San Diego Petting Zoo.
Yeah, you got to give it to the Beatles because I don't think there's any phenomenon. I mean, I think Beach Boys are probably the best American group ever. You, in your book, get kind of dark, and the darkest part, Dennis Wilson gets involved with Charles Manson. When you first heard about that, did you have any idea how bad this Manson was?
Oh no. Nobody did. We knew he was weird. Dennis comes home from a tour we'd been on, and Charlie and the girls were living at his house.
They moved into Dennis Wilson's house?
They moved in, and they moved in, and they took cars, clothing, anything that wasn't nailed down.
Did Dennis Wilson think he was strange?
Well, let's put it this way. Why are you so uptight today, Dennis? Well, I was out at the ranch, and I saw Charlie take an M16 rifle and blow a black cat, meaning an African-American guy, a black cat in half and stuff him down a well at the ranch.
He killed the guy?
Yes.
Did you believe that story?
That's what I was told by Dennis.
The other chilling part is Susan Atkins, one of the Manson killers, babysat your kids.
Yeah, that's rough.
But you didn't know at the time that Susan Atkins was a killer.
No. That all became revealed after.
Did it ever occur to you when you were a 21, 22-year-old guy coming up with this band and you're making a lot of people happy, that at age 75 you would be saying the words...
Actually, Bill, no.
When you're 75 years old, what did you do, 175 shows last
172.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got that wrong.
I was saying 75, but then I was correct.
172 shows the Beach Boys did in 2015.
Correct.
And you guys, why do you do it?
You know, you're a Beach Boy fan.
I am.
You see the audience response.
Yeah. Mike Love, everybody. The book is Good Vibrations.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, if you get a chance, it's a great night out seeing those guys. Up next, Fact or Tip of the Day, Bill Clinton contradicting Colin Kaepernick. Wow. The tip, moments away. Fact or Tip of the Day, President Clinton not endorsing Colin Kaepernick in a moment. First, this coming weekend be a great time to check out my brand new book, Killing the Rising Sun. An excerpt is available for everyone to read, posted on BillO'Reilly.com. Book is #1 everywhere. We thank you all. And if you become a BillO'Reilly.com premium member, you get the book free along with a copy of the Constitution. Once again, all the money I derive from the website donated to charity. Now the mail, Mike Kelleher, Cork, Ireland. I was there this summer. Bill, you must have a very obscure vantage point if you think Fox News analysts are split 50-50 on Trump. More like 10-1 for him. They must be editing this network in Ireland. That's not even close, Mike. You know how much mail I get about this one hates Trump, that one hates Trump? Come on. Ruth Windsor, Scarborough, England. Bill, what planet are you on? CNN International, very biased in favor of the Democrats. I've never seen Miss Amanpour saying one good thing about Republicans. I don't get to see CNN International very much, Ruth, and I thank you for the report. Claude Fragman, Montreal, Canada. So, Bill, when will you officially endorse Trump? Never, Claude. We do not endorse candidates on this program. Although I will tell voters in America that Senators Charles Grassley and John McCain, up for re-election both, were very supportive of the vitally important Cates Law. That's a fact, and I will tell you that. Drew Bloom, Philadelphia. Mr. O, I'm sure you'll get all kinds of grief for interviewing Oliver Stone, but I've got to hand it to you. You took the perfect tone and got him to open up. I didn't get much heat from viewers, Drew. A few folks never want to hear from those with whom they disagree, ever. But most of the letters that we got on Oliver Stone were positive, like this one. And Scott Jones, Fort Worth, Texas. While my politics don't align with Mr. Stone's, I appreciated the thoughtful points he raised on surveillance. Dean Blasco, Atlanta. Bill, your tip of the day brought tears to my eyes. I'm rebounding from double lung surgery and will not give up, although it's been a tough battle. Keep fighting the good fight, Dean. I'm pulling for you. Lisa Vartanian, Woodland Hills, California. Your tip was directed at me. I would not give up and finally got my book published. It has sold about 1,000 copies so far. The book is Price and Power of Freedom. Way to go, Lisa. Richard Ostrow, Beach Lake, Pennsylvania, just finished Killing the Rising Sun, iBook. Couldn't put it down, tremendously engrossing. Every college student should read it before rushing to moral judgment about their country. Right on, Rich. Thank you for reading Killing the Rising Sun. Finally, tonight's fact tip of the day. Politics and sports intertwined. As you may know, San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick has become famous by disrespecting the national anthem before games. He refuses to stand. Now, we've criticized Mr. Kaepernick for doing that, and I am sending him a copy of Killing the Rising Sun so he might wise up about his country. Speaking on Comedy Central last night, Bill Clinton pretty much threw Kaepernick under the bench while responding to a question about why there is so much hateful rhetoric in the USA these days.
America's come so far. We're less racist, sexist, homophobic, and anti-religious, specific religions than we used to be. We have one remaining bigotry. We don't want to be around anybody who disagrees with us. And, you know, the crowd's laughing, but they didn't laugh loud because they know I'm telling the truth.
Now, that statement by Mr. Clinton is very sage, S-A-G-E, and it absolutely contradicts Kaepernick's point of view, even if unintentionally. Fact or tip of the day. This country has come a long way in these areas. We're not a bad nation. And while we respect protest here, it should be done in a respectful way. We want to discuss these problems. Colin Kaepernick's welcome on this program anytime. You expect to see him here? I do not. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, which is different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, we would like you